Good morning. I'm Jessica, and we're at Always in Stitches in Noblesville, Indiana. We have some beautiful things to share with you today. This is the Barn Owl, designed by Danny Ives and presented with Felted Sky needle felting. And isn't she pretty? Look at all the colors, all the wonderful things in there. The eyes are deep and dark, the shadows are there. This is what you make when you get the kit that we sell. It's a complete kit. It comes with everything you need, from the foam base to work on, to the needles, to all the wool. There's a collection. You can see I've been using it, obviously, but here are the colors that you need for doing this. Deep down in here is a tube that has some color-coded needles so that you know what size they are. So needles to work with, little codes so that you know which ones you've got. Workspace. Underneath is the actual design. It's a drawing that you trace onto the fabric. The fabric's no longer in the kit because I used it. This was such a fun thing to make. The kit comes with access to a video by Danny Ives so that you have her guidelines on putting it together. And I usually do sculpture work. I tend to do three-dimensional small pieces. My favorite is my turducken. Ask me about it someday. But one of the things I loved doing this is playing with the color gradients. The body of the owl has they call this color polar bear, and then I forget what this browner one is, but she talks about doing a gradient so that you can actually get this nice color, and doing layers. Now I do layers like if I need to hide something, I call them my little band-aids, but she's doing little fine layers of different colors of wool so you get better color gradient. And so she's done that in the body. Here in the face, this is one color for this side, a slightly different color on the other side of the face, and then blending, shifting through, using different tricks to get the accents to make it look more like the owl is. And then it was just fun. There's also little bits of shadow, shading, thin lines of wool to help give accent and make definition between the wing and the background of the sky. Again, here at the head and on the wing. And then the other thing, I was just blown away. In this one wing, if you ignore the spots on here, the black spot and the white spot, those are little reflection dots and accents in the bird's wing. But underneath that, she has a good number of colors, like 3 or 4 different colors that are going into shaping that to make it more realistic. Gives you more shadow, gives you more depth, and it's just beautiful. It was a well-designed kit. And look at how much I have left over. This is the piece I made from this kit, right? We'll just put it right there. And the wools were in these cute little, I think they're 1/8 of an ounce or something, tiny little bit of wool in terms of like if you wanted to spin a sweater. But it's a perfect amount to have plenty to do this. I have enough left here that Peter suggested that I make a sculpture of an owl. And so maybe, you never know, come in and see if I've done a sculpture. I think because I won't have sky to make, I'll use these deep purples as the center part of my body, and then just some of these other colors so that I can make what I like with the leftovers. So come into the shop, get one of our kits. They were fun to make. It did not take long. I had to be really good. Needle felting is a repetitive motion art, and so working for an hour or 2 tops, setting it aside, coming back to it the next day is ideal. Don't hurt yourself. So if you want to follow along and join us for the experience, you're welcome to needle felt along with us. We'd love to have you join us. We have some fun felted goodness to share with you, and Peter's behind the camera. He's gonna film some stuff. What we're gonna do is we're gonna open a box and sort of do a felt along. So we've got some new products from Felted Sky. I'm gonna hold this up so you can see it. This is one of the 2-dimensional pieces that we've got from them. It's a complete kit. We're gonna open it up, sort of do a little unboxing, and then we'll show you what's in it, and then we'll start doing stuff, trying to follow the instructions, see how it goes, show you my tips and tricks. The sad reality is that I'm as weird as everyone else, and so you'll get to see the things that I like and don't like, and maybe some of them will be things that you like, and maybe you'll have other things that really touch your fancy. So, Peter, shall we get started and open the box?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. We're going to open this box. I wanted to show you the cover of the box, Felted Sky. That's where we get them from. But Danny Ives is the fiber artist who has designed this particular beautiful, it's a barn owl. And so that's what we're doing. Read the box. It includes everything you need to do this, but it also includes this warning. This kit is intended for adults who possess good manual dexterity, I can't read today, hand-eye coordination, and ability to work with focus and care. And then the caution.
So basically, Peter shouldn't be doing this.
No, Peter, you're behind the camera for a reason. The caution is that felting needles are sharp. And so before we even open the box, I have to tell you that when my kids were old enough to have me have my felting needles out, I would felt, and then, ow. And my children, love my children, would say, Mom, you're supposed to felt the wool and not your fingers. So felting needles are sharp. Be careful. And let's see what we've got. Oh, look at that. So it starts, let's see if I can do this. Barn owl. Now it says there's video instructions, so I don't really want to give you that, but there's the picture of it. It's the barn owl. Again, the caution, felting needles are very sharp and accidental pokes hurt. And then inside talks about all the different supplies, but we're going to show them to you. And I think, there's a little bit about the artist who created this particular piece. So we're going to open this up and see what all's in here. A nice hoop. That's what we'll be putting it in when we're done. Oh my goodness, it's so pretty. It's like opening Christmas packages. You have to do it without ripping all the paper and stuff because you want it to stay pretty. Well, I ripped it anyway. Okay, look what we've got.
Look at that presentation.
Isn't that
Wow,
pretty?
they give you a generous
Look at all
mat.
Yeah, because
Okay,
it's a
look
big
at
size
that.
piece. Okay, so this is, I wish it were feel of it.
Man,
This is linen.
that is like,
I love the feel
this is like
of linen.
garment.
Yeah, it's a lovely
Like
fabric.
Peter would love to have a couple yards of that to make a shirt.
Oh gosh, well, okay, so fabric. We're gonna have to open this. We're gonna pull these. Oh, look at this. This is Purple Sunset
Hold it up
right here.
or give it to me.
I'll give it to you.
I don't know if they're going to be able to see the color.
So maybe we should put a bundle of them together.
Oh yeah, you're so smart. Look
What
at you
about- what do
go.
we do
There
that?
you go. Yes.
Look at that. Look how nicely they play together. So I'll just make collections. This one's called Polar Bear. So these are little bits of wool from Felted Sky. Oh, this is pretty. Black, gray, and a natural. Look at that. Those are pretty.
Wait,
Oops.
it didn't focus.
It didn't focus.
Give it some time.
It's slower than I am.
There we go.
Okay. Those three. What have we got next? Caramel, wheat, fawn. I'm going to see if I can get these to focus right there. I see the camera moving this time.
There we go. It's
There
in
we go.
focus.
Okay, and this last pair is brown bear and mountain lion. Look at those. So these little bits of wool they're carded, brushed, if you will, and so they're not all going the same direction. They're kind of just different directions. We'll be using that to make the design. So this is essentially, if you were a painter, this is your palette. This is the colors that we're using. And then what else is in here? Oh my goodness. There's a little container, Felter's needles. These are, and they're color coded. And the color coding information's on the container. So what color
wow.
are these? These are a sky blue. So these are the number 38 star. 38 refers to how big around the needle is, and star is the number of edges where there are barbs to actually do your felting. That's lovely. It's nice to have that.
How did you get
on
so
there.
smart?
Oh, I was, born that way? No, I don't know. Okay, Felter's foam mat. This is our work surface. We'll be actually punching into that. Oh, and look, here's our design.
Are you eyeballing me?
Oh, he's looking at you. I'm knocking wool on the floor. There's that. And so those are all our bits and pieces. Oh my goodness. Okay, so.
I love that it's the amounts that you need, Because, a lot of times you see something and it looks really pretty. And you're like, oh, I'd like to try that. But then you're like, okay, well, where do I start? How do I acquire those materials? And usually you got to get them in like, big bags of wool. And
Right.
And it ends
these
up
are
being an obscene amount of money to get into something and just get started when all you want to do is like a single project just to see if you like it.
So this is a complete kit. Everything's here. As we get going, I'll show you some of the things I choose to use because, well, I have my preferences. I'm sure you do too. So this kit comes with everything you need to do it. There's other ways to do it. We'll see how it goes. I can't wait to get started. I'm going to go watch the video because there's a video instruction to go with this kit. Some of the other Felted Sky kits don't have the videos. This is because this is in connection with the artist Danny Ives.
Ooh.
And so it's kind of special. So I'll be watching that video, learning how she does this, and then I'm going to try and do it myself, and we'll invite you to come along and be part of the journey.
Now, you're not a beginner, and I see that you have some stuff, different techniques that you've tried. Do you want to walk us through what you have up there and what you were trying or
Sure.
what you were making?
Sure. So let's
All right.
start at this bigger piece, Peter. This is actually a background piece. It's 100% wool. It's got blue at the top and then some blue greens and yellow on there. My thought with this is that I'm going to needle felt a field of flowers onto it. It's the background for some sort of garden scene, which I haven't created yet. That piece is actually wet felted. It's a different technique than this one, but it's still wool, 100% wool. And then getting those fibers to interlace and interconnect and hold together. So that's this one. Up here at the top is one of those backgrounds, like the wet felted one, with some things actually stitched on there. Let me grab a pointer. There's my tree that I've felted, but then in here I've actually hand stitched a little bit of stuff. There's not a lot in there. There's a few little flowers. Just, I'm playing around with different techniques. Down below, this was actually a kit that I purchased, and I was playing around. Can I do that on a pre-felted wool background? We sell this felt here in the shop, and it's nice to work on. This next one, it's much thicker than that wool felt from the shop, but I'm going for a stormy day out at the park, and I'm trying to do a garden, and not there yet. This one up here is really fun. I did it a number of years ago, and what I really like is I was sitting in church and the light came in such a way that when I closed my eyes, it looked different colors. And so these are people sitting in the pews, and this was just the play of the light on there. It's been fun to play with that one. Other things I've got down here, this big picture is part of my fairy tale series. This is based on the story of Hansel and Gretel. And in one version of Hansel and Gretel, Hansel leaves white pebbles as the path, and there's one of the white pebbles. So it's a very dimensional piece, though. These, if I turn it, you might be able to see that these trees actually bump out. I am much more comfortable with three-dimensional things. I'm not a good painter, and so this delves into the painting, but like this is a dryer ball that I've decorated, and so there's a cute little snail on it. Little flower. And then these things on the table were just me playing with some of that pre-felted wool and just little bits of what can I put on there and maybe make some patches. I'm particularly fond of my little bird with its bright yellow beak. This one here is actually a rose, so it's again got dimension to it. Just bits and pieces. I like to play. Needle felting is very much a playing art.
I like your dolls. Your felted dolls.
Yeah, and I didn't bring any of
That's
those
your
today.
talent.
I do.
Because you're a sculptor, so you like the sculpting the faces.
I do. I have a collection. I call it my Shrunken Heads collection, and it's a collection of doll heads, and some of them have hands. That most of them, I only have 2 of them that have bodies, but the rest of them are just heads, and they live in my little china cabinet. So that's what we're doing. We'll do another video and see how things go. So I don't know if you can see it, but I already drew some circles on here because if you follow the instructions in the video by Danny Ives, it says to trace the inner hoop so that you've got a basic line. Well, I had to do it twice. You see there's 2 lines on there?
because I trace the inside, and really you have to trace the outside of the inner hoop for it to match the circle on the design. So, you know, good thing it's needle felting, and we're going to cover it all up anyways. So in fact, I'm using a pencil because I just need it to stay put and not rub off, not fade. So I figured a pencil would be the thing. And I was hoping to use a light box and trace this, but I didn't have one available. So I'm going to show you my light box hack. This is a plastic tote. It's just big enough on top that I can put my paper on it. An upside down tissue box, and my phone, because my cell phone has a flashlight option. And if I turn my flashlight on, there it is, and put it on that tissue box, I can see the design. Peter, I don't know if you can show folks that my light's coming up here, and I can see the design of the little barn owl. So I'm just going to start tracing.
Okay.
I just need to put as many of these lines on here as I can so that I have an idea of where to put my different colors. Now, I've noticed with this linen that it likes to wiggle a little bit, so I'm putting my fingers around to provide a support. There's that. Here's this one. You know, this is not rocket science, but some days it's harder than rocket science. There we go. And now the little beak. Get some little lines on there. Okay, and of course I shifted it, so I have to bring it back. Now, if you're doing it against a window and you can tape it together, that's ideal for keeping things from shifting. If you've got a flat light box, it's a perfect use for it. I was goofing off with this at home, and I tried using the box that the kit came in, and I have some of that corrugated plastic board, and so I put one of those on top of it, on top of the box that the kit came in, and I was able to use that as a makeshift light box. I find sometimes at my house it's hard to get access to windows without having to figure out which blinds have to get up and down and all that good stuff. So I'm just tracing this out. We're almost done with the face, and then that'll give us an idea of where to put the different colors. Now I'll come and do, this is the body, and here's the wing. And in preparation for doing this piece, I did go online and look at images of barn owls, because really I'm a Southern California suburban girl, and we didn't have barn owls where I was growing up. And so I didn't spend a lot of time observing them or listening to them or watching them fly. And so it was kind of neat to go and look at what barn owls look like in preparation for doing this piece, so I have an idea of what I'm trying to create. So there we go. A little sketch of a barn owl, ready for me to put this on the foam that came in the kit and start. And we're going to start with the eyes. I'm going to turn my flashlight off before I run my battery down. Just a recommendation. When I first started watching Danny Ives' video, I was watching it on my phone, and what I noticed is that it was really hard to see some of the details. And I know that as we go and work on the eyes, we're going to put some reflections in there, the obvious white bright reflection, but then just some night sky reflection as well. When I watched on my phone, I couldn't see those details. When I watched on my laptop, I was able to see them. So if you're not noticing some of those things, try a bigger screen. Maybe if you can cast to like a television screen, you might try that. And also, just because I believe in words and outlines, I went through and watched the video and I took notes. We need to do the eyes, and then we need to do this, and then we need to do that. So that's helpful for me. And so I recommend watching her video a couple times and going back to it, because there's shading, there's things that I'm not a painter. I don't do some of that stuff. And so I feel like I'm going to be learning a lot in this video, trying trying to get some of those subtle shading things to make this bird look good. So we're ready to go. We're getting ready to start felting our cute little barn owl. So I've got the Felter's foam mat from the kit. Just put that paper off to the side. I'm actually going to throw it out. I don't need to keep it. And then set my traced pattern here on the foam. So just seeing that there's stuff around the edges and it's more or less centered, I'm going to be able to work on all bits and pieces of it. I'm going to get out my needles. So these are color coded. The light blue is a 38 star. It says general felting into fabric, use in a tool. So we're just going to park one there for now, and the other one we'll use. I'm not sure we'll need two as we work on the eyes. We're going to start with the eyeballs. It'll be a black eyeball, and then we'll do the medium purple wood violet for a reflection, because the outside, the night sky is going to be sort of a purpley night sky, and so it'll have a purple reflection on there. And then we're going to use the polar bear to be the you know, that white reflection dot. Yeah, I'm sure it has a name and I don't know what it is. All right, black. So we need to start. Let's see how much. I'm just going to pull all this out so you can see how much is in here. These cute little put-ups, I think it's 1/8 of an ounce, about 10 inches long by 3 inches. And we actually sell these individual ones in the shop, so if you need more of one color or another, or you want to change things out, you can come get just a single little thing. They're not very expensive, and believe it or not, this is a lot of fiber. We need a spot about the size tip of my finger for those eyeballs, so I'm just going to pull some off. That might be too much, but we're not sure. This fiber is a carded preparation, meaning brushed. The fibers, if you look at this edge, they're not all going one direction. They're all kind of mishmashed and overlapping. It makes it really easy to felt with. If you're going to recreate this at home on your own and are using something like a merino wool top, tops are very linear fibers, you're going to want to mess it up. So pull things apart and make sure they're loose like this carded fiber. It's so much easier to felt when all those fibers are going different directions. So I take this, I sort of shape it in my hand just for starters. It looks like it's a lot more than that eyeball space needs, but by the time we get it felted in, it's going to shrink down. So here we go. We're just going to start. And I'm looking to see where my lines are. Wow. Okay, I made a mistake. I had too much and I couldn't see, so I pulled that off, and that's one thing you can do if you make a mistake, just pull it off. I'm going to start with about half of that bundle so that I can see a little better. Now, I already told Peter this. The sound of these needles going into fabric drives me crazy.
How far are you stabbing down? Like,
well,
how do you know how far to put the needle into the
into the foam or
yes,
into the fabric?
Yes.
Yeah. So these needles, the bent part, that's the top. That's where you hold it, and then there's the shaft, and about a quarter of the way from the tip, it gets real narrow, and then there's, from where I'm looking at it, it looks like just little flecks. They're actually barbs on the needle. And so all these little ding, ding, dings, those are barbs that push the fibers in. And so you don't need to go deep on these needles. You just need to get those barbs to catch the wool and go into the fabric. So, I don't know, maybe a quarter of an inch, 3/8 of an inch. Certainly, I don't need to go half an inch, just part way down so that the wool gets pushed into the fabric.
Now it's taking shape really quickly.
Really quickly.
Now I see on the edge there you're going at an angle. Now what does that do?
So the direction you stab pushes your fiber that direction. So like I've got an irregular lump here at the top. If I want it to move in towards the center of the circle, I just change the direction my needle is going and I push into the center. And it didn't actually, there we go. So at this point, I'm stabbing just into the wool and not into the fabric or the foam. And I can just shape it by pushing and felting whichever direction I'm pushing. An important note, these needle felting needles are actually very brittle. If you've ever gripped a hand sewing needle hard enough to slightly bend it, these needles don't so much as bend, they will break and shatter. They're that brittle in the length. So make sure whatever direction you stab in, that's the direction you pull out. If I stab in from the side, I have to pull out at that same angle so that I don't break and shatter the needle. Just a little more felting here. Okay, there's one eye. I do tend to park my needle when I'm not using it because I don't want it to roll or go other places. We're going to try this much fluff for the next eye. So my finger is about the same size of what I want the eye. I've got maybe twice that much wool. I just start stabbing it in. There we go.
Now I noticed that you're using you just right there. You use the needle to take the fibers and kind of catch them, and then move them towards where you were going to poke.
I do that.
To kind of shape it, so it takes shape real nice and neat.
And you have to be careful with it. I'm being real gentle as I push with the tip of the needle, and then just doing my stab. But be careful. Don't get in bad habits. You don't want to bend your needle and break it.
that was just before you stabbed it. You were just kind of catching the wild hairs that were going all over the place.
Another thing I'll do is I'll spiral the needle on top of the fibers. It sort of helps catch them, and then I can felt them in. Just so like there's loose little hairy bits, and so I can sort of gather them together.
How do you know when a felton is enough? Like, you know what I mean? I noticed that you have it where you want it, but you could just keep going and keep going and keep going. How do you know when enough is enough on needle felting?
So it's called the pinch test. You run your fingers over. Oh, and this is really good. Can you see it lifting up on the camera?
Yeah.
So that's not enough because I pinched it and there were enough loose fibers on top that I could pull it off. Actually, I'm going to show you something. If you make a mistake and you don't like your eyeball, just pull it off. I mean, there, it's off, right? I could probably put that back on because it was kind of eyeball shaped. But you can, needle felting's forgiving. So there, again, I use the tip of my needle to gently directional encourage my fibers. So with that pinch test, you should be able to felt it down enough. I'm trying to get enough of it felted so it won't come right off. Yeah, and there with that, I can
Nice.
feel some little hairy fibers between my fingers, but as I pull on them, it's not lifting the eyeball out. Now this one's a little loose yet, so let's stab it down.
So that's a good test to see how it stays into the fibers.
Yeah, the pinch test. It
Yeah.
helps you know if you felt it enough. Another thing to note, when Danny Ivers did her video, she left her fabric on her foam piece until the very end. And at the very end, that's when she took it off. I'm used to sculptural felting, where I felt a piece on, lift it off, turn it, and do other things. I'm going to be fighting that tendency with this piece because I want to leave it on the foam, and at the end we'll take it off the foam. All right, we've got 2 more things to do. Right, look at all this wool that is just going to get, I'm just going to tuck it back here and roll this up, and now we hardly used any black for the eyes. We'll need it for some other bits. Tuck that in so I don't lose track of what's what. This is wood violet, and this is what we need for the reflection. Now, I did goof off and do some eyes at home on a piece of just wool felt that I had, some scrap, and I was playing around with it, and my mom was over, and she looked at it, you know, because I show my mom some of the projects I'm working on, and she's like, Jessica, your reflections should be like the same in each eye. I'm like, oh man. So, you know, try and be artistic with this. Good luck. Like I say, the painting part is not my strength. Now, I'm taking these little bits of fluff that I pulled off, and I just rolled it in my fingers because I wanted an idea of how much I'm going to need. And it looks like I'm going to need half of one of these pieces. So I'm going to take this one I rolled. I'm just going to pinch it and try and pull it because I want it shorter. I want it smaller. Well, I sort of got it halfway. Roll it again. Yeah, that'll do. Okay, we'll use that on that side. We'll take this one and try and get rid of some of that fiber first. And I'm just rolling it. If you have very dry hands, you can breathe on your hand, get a little moisture on there, and it helps the fibers stick together. There we go. Now we have 2 of those. I'm just going to bring this up, and my goal is to create sort of a oval near the top of the eye. Ugh, yeah. Some days I feel more confident than others, so this is not a confident day, and we'll just go with what we've got, and we'll see how it turns out, and I can always just pull it off if I don't like how it looks. So I'm just going to continue to tack it in, trying to get sort of a curved oval, maybe a kidney bean reflection. Yeah, ish. Okay. I think this is a little bit like my quilting. When I'm quilting and I'm right on top of it, it looks terrible. But when I back up, it's okay, right? It's just, I mean, if you're putting your nose on my piece and studying it that closely, you're too close. Back up. It'll be okay. All right. This is the finger pinch of purple that I pulled, and you see how little we actually used. I'm going to make the tiny white dots for the reflection, and for my mom's sake, I'm going to try and make them identical. But I'm not even going to take this out of the wrapping. I'm just going to pull a little bit of this off. Oh my goodness, can you even see that? I'll try and put it against the eyeballs. So we just need to take this. I pulled off, oh, you probably can't even see it on my fingers, maybe against the black. That much. That's all I pulled off. And I'm just going to take that and I'm going to roll it into a little ball. And then we'll put it against the eye and see if it's enough. Yeah, kind of like that. So maybe half of this. And same sort of thing, roll it into a little ball. I want it a little bit bigger than what I hope to have for the final bit. But I'm going to tack it around. If this big bit of wool were the eyeball, I'd come in around the edge of it and tack down angling from the outside edges. So it's just like making a little mound and just tacking the edges. If I go ahead and just go straight into the center of the little sphere of wool, I can literally push it through to the other side, and then I won't have any white to show on the eyeball. So I want to try and get it tacked down from the sides. And sometimes having another tool to hold it protects your fingers, and I highly recommend protecting your fingers. The warning on the box is real. Felting needles are very sharp, and if you poke your fingers with them, you will know it. Well, okay, I usually know it, and I yelp when I poke them. And if you've ever poked yourself with just a sewing needle, it hurts. With the needle felting needles, it feels like they're deeper. They hurt differently, so please don't. Although for the years I was needle felting and my children were home, and I'd be felting on the couch, and the kids would be watching something on the show or doing something else, and I'd say ow, and then my kids would follow up with, Mom, you're supposed to felt the wool, not your fingers. Be like, thanks, I already messed it up. So I'm just, again, trying to get the outside of that little sphere of white. And now I'm going to pull on my purple. Okay, be real careful. This is one of those do as I say, not as I do moments. I'm using the tip of the needle to pull down on that purple because I want it to move just a little bit down, and I feel better about that. but you have to be real gentle and careful. Okay, I think we have some eyeballs. And Mom, I think the white reflection's about the same size.
What do you think, Mom? Is that the right size? That's wonderful.
Isn't that cool?
That's really nice. That purple's subtle. I like it.
It's really subtle. So when I was playing around with wools at home, I had a deep dark brown. And so I actually took some of the deep dark brown and blended it with my black to try and make more depth to the eyeballs as well. So, you know, you can go out on a limb and make this your own way if you want to. There are some browns in the pack. We'll show you at the end how much wool we've used. I mean, we opened the black one up. Plenty of wool for the project, but I don't think we're going to use it all up. So if you need to add a touch of black or do something a little different, you can certainly make this your own, and maybe you can even name your bar now. We'll have to think of a name for ours. So, okay, that's it for this. We're going to start on the face next. We're coming back to felt more of this barn owl, and I remembered to bring my notes, which is a good thing because I took notes when I was watching Danny's video and didn't follow him yesterday because I forgot him. And I realized when I got home that I didn't put the outline on the eyeballs. And so this owl has, Peter, can we see this or do you need to bring it in?
Go ahead and bring it in. There we go.
So the owl, we did, use my needle to point, we did the black and the purple and the white yesterday. But what we forgot to do is this outline, which is actually a brown. And so it's above the eye and below the eye. So that's where we're going to start today. We're going to use the color Brown Bear. We're going to outline the eyes, and then I'm going to look at my notes and see what's next. So here we go. This is the color Brown Bear, and I literally just pulled a little bit of wool off the edge and laid it on my hand and used my fingers. And if it's just sort of sliding, breathe on my fingers and help it roll to pre-felt it just a little bit. So I've got a little string of wool, and so these are some fatter ones. I'm just going to tack it down in the corner where I want it to end. And what I'm doing, I'm pushing against that wool and then felting down right at the edge where I want it to go. There we go. So it just provides a nice little outline for that eyeball. Oop, caught some extra fibers. Pull that away. A little piece here that doesn't look round, so we'll just stick it in. Okay. Felt it down. I'm going to try not to fuss over it too much because I'm not... Oh, this is... I don't know about you. There are some art forms that I am super confident in, and others like this one, which make me stretch. And so I'm just gonna go with it. And oh, did you see what happened there? I had that tail, and I poked on it, and it just went right to the underside of the fabric. Just sucked right through. I went looking for one of my little 3D sculptures to share with you, and I could not find my turducken, which means I put it in a container somewhere and I've got to go looking for it because I am more used to doing three-dimensional work, and so this two-dimensional painterly stuff is a little more challenging for me. So again, I came in, I tucked it into the corner first, and then I'll just tuck it right around the perimeter of that black circle that we made yesterday. That's almost enough. I'm going to need a little more. So I'll roll it between my fingers, and then we'll come right into this corner here.
Talk a little louder.
So into the corner, that's where I'll put that. Once it's in, I'll set it up and just go around again, and then we'll have this nice just outline of the eye. And because it's a real dark color, it's not going to stand out as though, I don't know, like a kid's coloring book that you do a black outline. It's not going to show like that, but it'll stay and it'll help you see the eye. Here we go on this other eye, same sort of thing. Grab the wool with the tip of your needle and then tuck it into the corner. And I'm holding on to the rest of the wool so that I can help guide it into place. Am I gonna make it all the way up? I'm going to the corner. I think I made it. Good. Yay, eyes. No. Okay, this is where I said I'm done, and then I picked my needle right back up because this brown here is a little thicker than I want, so I'm just gonna squish it away from the black and see if it thins it down a little bit. I find it funny when I discover that I have strong opinions about things, and there's one of them. Okay, eyes. We did eyes. What's next? Have to read my notes. Like I said, I watched the video twice already. I took some notes because I work better off written notes. Having to find where I am in the video is hard for me. But my written notes I can just turn to, and let's see what I need to do. Oh, we're gonna do the beak. We're gonna use the color Mountain Lion. That's wheat. That's Mountain Lion. These are some great colors. I love how they're shading, right? Look at this one. This one's Mountain Lion, and the one next to it is Fawn. Mountain Lion's just a little deeper than Fawn, so it'll be great together. We're gonna use Mountain Lion. I have to see my notes again. Okay, we've got a beak shape down here. We're gonna fill in the tip of the beak, and then we've got lines that go up towards the eyes, and so we're gonna do the lines, and we're gonna do that beak. Let's pop this out. And again, we don't need a lot. So here's some wool. We're gonna start down here. I do wad stuff up, like pre-squish it, get it into about the shape I want, and start attaching. I'm going off the line that I traced from the main image. I'm just trying to get along that line. Once I've got that defined, I can go in and felt it down. One of the nice things about this sort of wool work is that if I need to change the shape of it later, I can put another color on top. Just like with paints, you can layer different things. So if I decide later on that I really need to modify the shape of this beak, I can do that. So there we go. And now we have to extend this line up towards the eyes. Again, this is where I'll put it on my hand and roll it so that I've got a little bit of rope of wool. And about all the way up to here. I've got too much and it's too fat for my taste, so I'm going to push down with my thumb and pull with my other fingers to get rid of some of that fiber.
Hold on, Jess.
All right, I was working on putting the side lines on the beak when I realized that my eyes should have outline coming down further, so I'm gonna add that in. So just a little bit more of that brown bear, bringing the eye line down further. And now that I did that, I can come along here and fill in that line at the side of the beak. Get rid of the excess, tuck it in. All right, this other eye needs that same downward slope. I'm going to add it in. There we go. Now back to the beak color. This is Mountain Lion. Okay, once we get this done, we're gonna start coloring in the face of this barn owl, and the light in this project is coming from the left side, and so the left side of the face is going to be a lighter color than the right side. And I almost brought in show and tell because I was doing my morning stretches and discovered that we're watching Voyager reruns, and the picture had the Star Trek shirt, and one side of the shirt was pinkish and the other side was red because the light was hitting it and changing the way the colors looked. So that's what we're doing in the face of this owl. We're gonna do a real light color here where the light's hitting it, and we'll do a slightly darker color on the other side where it's a bit in shadow. What color? I need fawn and polar bear. So polar bear is my lightest one, and I think this one's fawn, and this one's fawn. So this is going to be my face shadow, and this is going to be my face in light over here. It's actually a good thing to note right now. If I turn this so you can see it, that center line that we actually drew as part of the face is right here, and mine has started to curve. The needle felting distorts the fabric, the base fabric. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's just good to know that it happens so that you're prepared for it and it doesn't, freak you out or surprise you too much. So I'm just going to take some of this wool. Again, I'm going to come up to the edge where I've got that beak and just felt it in. Trying to go right next to, not on top of, the wool that's already there. Just felt it in. Go right up the center. And here where it's getting a little close to what's already on there, I'm going from the side and pushing it over. I want like scooch over wool. We don't want you to cover stuff up. And come up to the top, and again I'm watching my lines. I've actually just folded this bit of wool over so that I can see my lines and tack it in. So a single needle like this is really great for doing the fine control, like here where I'm going to go next to the eye. I'm going to try a different technique. I'm going to cover the eye and felt it down, and then I'm going to fold it back. See if I like that any better. Only a little. Still have to get right close to the eye. So a single needle is good for the detail work. When I get going on the body of this, I'm probably going to put both of the needles that came in this kit into a holder, and pinching the metal gets tiring to my hand. So I've got a couple of different holders that I like and use, and so I'll pull those out when we get there. This upper spot is still kind of thin, so I bring in more wool. And I do this lay it flat, stab along the line, and fold it over technique. It helps. It's just something I've been doing for a while, and for me it helps even things out. Okay, now we get to do underneath. Again, I'm kind of aiming for corners, and then I'm going to fold this over. There we go. And now I've got to get it out of the way of that dark brown that's around the eye. There we go. So I'm using the tip of the needle to move the wool and then just stabbing it in. And then felting it down. We're going to add shading on top of this, but I do want to make sure that it's a nice even base layer. And he looks cute. We haven't come up with a name yet for this guy, have we, Peter?
No, we haven't.
He's a barn owl. We could call him Barney. Trying to get in that little corner spot, and I have too much wool, so I'm going to thin things out just with my fingers, fluff them up, and tack them down. There we go. And again, here along that beak, I want to make sure that the beak color shows through, so I'm going to change the angle of my needle. do like how the texture that we're creating with the wool makes it look a bit like feathers. It's kind of neat. So again, that's that fold technique that I did. I went and stabbed it along, and now I folded it over. It creates a more of a distinct edge. All right, and when I'm not using my needle, I do like to park it in the fabric. Usually I try and go into a corner. I don't want it rolling around, poking me. I'm usually the one who gets hurt if I leave things around. No fun. And there's a dark thread. I don't want that one. I don't want the dark fiber on the white face. Okay. I pulled off some extra there. I just held down so I didn't pull it out of the fabric. I think we'll go just down here under this edge. Like that. I've got fibers right here on the beak. The polar bear fibers are trying to cover it up, and so I'm going to squish them over. Okay, one side of the face has a base coat. Next thing to do is add some shadowing on it. We're going to add a gray here to make it look like the eyes sunken down. We're going to add some of that light brown on the cheek just to give it some shading. And then we'll pause. So, getting there. What we need is baby elephant, nope, not dried lavender, baby elephant, and some of the fawn. Right. Yes. Okay, so we're going to use the baby elephant as the gray above the eye. If you're experienced with adding eyeshadow, a little bit of makeup there, that's essentially what we're doing here. We're going to put some eyeshadow on, and I'm sort of checking. I pulled some fiber, I lay it on there, and then I'll tack it down. When it's loose fiber, it's thinner and lighter than once we start stabbing it. It'll sort of condense down. I guess it sort of concentrates it. And we're going to add some more detail on top of this, so it doesn't have to be perfect, but we do want a nice shadow layer there. Okay, that's my baby elephant. Now we want some fawn. Just pull some off. And this is going to be a shading under, sort of like on the cheekbones. I don't know owl anatomy very well. I don't know if they even have cheekbones. But that's where human cheekbones are on the eye. That's kind of where we're going to add this. If you need references, I encourage you to look up pictures of barn owls and get an idea of why Danny's chosen to put these different colors in different places. We're leaving a little bit of white, the polar bear color, around the eye and next to the beak. But I don't want it to be too big. So thin that out. There we go. All right. Last thing on this side is we're going to add feathers, these feather stripes, and these are kind of neat. You know how we've done this rolling technique? We're going to use a thin bit of wool, and we're going to pretend that at the center of the eye is where it's going to end. I'm going to leave that needle there just as a guide, and I'm going to tack down one end and then pull the fiber straight, trying to make sort of a vertical feather effect. So let's get some more and do another. Roll it. I'll do 2 or 3 of these, and then I'll pull that needle out. There we go. Pull it straight. There we go. Maybe one more here. And we're pretending that it's going all the way to the center of the eye, holding it straight, just like that. Okay. Now we can go through and add more of them. And you can start at either end, either away from the eyeball or near the eyeball. But the goal is to have these very strong lines, make them look like feathers. And when I get to the end and I've got fiber left over, I'm doubling it back and just tacking it along the same line that I already tacked on. There we go. Got a few more of these to do. I'm gonna roll this a little more, get something more to work with to tack it down. There we go. I think we need a few more this way. One of the things I noticed while I was watching the video for this is that 1 or 2 of these feathers didn't do anything great. It didn't look real, but when you got more on there, it started to, I think it tricks the eye. So then the eyes started looking beyond the fact that it's just lines of wool, and it starts looking like depth and feathers on the owl. Just going through and tacking them down, helping them stay put. Get some of these extras off. All right. And that's the start for half the face. All right, I'm going to open this back up because Peter and I both thought it was really cool that we're just working here. I'm leaving my piece of foam with my work in the box, and all my tools are here. I'm not even going to take it out of the box. We're just going to work like it is. And the other thing I thought I'd show you today, my magical bag of tricks. I'm kind of fond of using multi-tools. So this is a Colonial multi-tool. I think it holds up to 12. You see all these little holes down here? I think it holds up to 12 needles. The needle that comes with this kit will not fit in this holder because of the paint. So I just thought I'd show you. If you were actually doing this, you'd slide the needle in. But the paint makes it too thick for this holder, which is a bummer. But I like using 3 needles at a time, And I felt my own little washer to help keep things from rattling. Whoop, and now it doesn't want to go back together because it's on camera. It's camera shy. There we go. But this is just a really nice tool. When you've got a lot of stabbing to do, you can just work it with 3 needles instead of just 1, and it's a nice way of doing things. This kit comes with the painted needle. It's really nice because you know what size it is because there's a color chart on the tube. But if you need multiple needles that don't have the paint on them, you can also get them from Felted Sky so that you know you can use different things. All right, we are at the point of doing the body and then the wings on this little owl. So for the body, I need some polar bear. That's the off-white, so we'll need some of that. And then we're gonna need some fawn. I forget which color is fawn. Nope, that's mountain lion. Is that fawn? Nope, that's wheat. Must be this one. Haha, fawn. So we'll do some fawn. And we're just gonna stab. And kind of like we did on the face, we're gonna use the color change to do shadow. So up here it's gonna be lighter and down lower it's gonna be more shaded. So we'll just start putting this on and then we'll stab it in. I'm gonna do, trying to keep my hands out of your view. I'm gonna come in and stab right here along the edge of the face, and then I'm gonna fold my tips back. It's a nice little trick of getting up close to something, getting a nice clean edge. And I've thinned my fiber out so I can just see it, see through it so I can see where that face was. So here we go. And then here I am just brushing it back and then tacking it down. This is where that multi-tool would be real nice because it's just a lot of flat stabbing, and having 3 needles to stab at once instead of just 1 is nice. Some people are coordinated enough to use 2 needles at the same time. The trick is keeping them parallel, so I'm actually holding my finger against them, trying to keep them parallel. But I'm not always as coordinated as I'd like to be, and so sometimes this works for me. And sometimes I just go, maybe it'd be safer to use 1 needle. Like right now. So 1 needle. Come up and do the same thing here. I can just see the face through the fibers. Get it all stuck on. Now that is a dark hair, and I'm just going to pull it out. Just using the needle to sort of lift it from the rest of the fibers. Pull it out. There we go. So here along the side, I want to make sure I don't go outside what's drawn on the fabric. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a layer of fawn down here, and then we'll sort of work our way up. Same thing I did with that polar bear and the face. I'm coming along the edge here, tacking this down, and then I'll fold it over. It gives a nice edge. Playing around with it. Getting a little more dark hair. So one of the things I can see as I'm felting this down is that I've got some thinner spots in here. So those are spots where I'm definitely going to want to come in and make sure that I've got more fiber on there. But sometimes I like to pull the fibers apart and lay them crosswise to each other. It helps them cover an area better. All right, that's a nice corner now. Let's do some pulver. No, no, that's one of my hairs. Sorry, it doesn't belong there. Peter, I'm beginning to think we're going to have to get some like owl sounds or something to use for an audio track for this video. Me and my stabby noise and just an owl hooting in the background.
Like woodland creatures and the
Yeah.
Black Forest.
Yeah. Maybe a few crickets or, you know. Now that one, when I pressed it down, it made a very distinct line. I don't want a line of the polar bear, so I had to pull it out a little bit and tack it back down. There, it's come away from the face just a little bit, and since I can still pinch it and pull it up, I'm just going to come in towards the face and make sure that I don't have fabric showing. So at my house, we're not really happy with our woodland creatures right now. I've got some rabbits. Peter loves rabbits, and
Do you have some Peter rabbits in your garden?
These rabbits, it was bad enough when they ate my sugar snap peas, like right before they blossomed, so I didn't get anything from them. And now they've come around to my front yard, and I had some bee balm that was just coming up. It was starting to look good. It's the spot where we cut down a tree, so we're trying to get stuff to grow there. And no, they decided it was lunch or breakfast, and I'm not happy with those little woodland creatures. Okay, I just took a little pile of polar bear and a little bit of fawn, and I'm just gonna layer them together and pull them apart with my fingers. It's a way of blending them. Just, I'm looking for for a nice transition between these two colors here, so I'm just gonna use that to help fill in some of the holes where I could see a thin spot. That'll give us a nice transition. Yeah, so it's a good thing I don't own a BB gun or anything, because then I might try and hurt some rabbits. But
You might put some rabbit in the fry pan.
rabbits good eating, but well, and I know these have eaten well, so maybe there's some meat on their bones, but yeah.
You could always do some catch and release.
That might take more willpower than I have, because I might want to catch them and release them far, far away. Actually, okay, this sounds bad. I think it would be really cool if like a bird of prey would come and catch them, and that way I wouldn't have to do it.
Or like the neighborhood cat.
Yeah, just
Like an owl. You
Like an
literally
owl. I
need
need
an
an
owl.
owl
You need an owl
to
to hang out
come
at your home.
and
Can you rent an owl? Do you think they have that service?
I don't know. You can rent goats and sheep.
We need to find out where we can rent some owls. But my method, I would say catch and release. We can catch them at your house and release them in my backyard.
There you go, and then you could watch the rabbits.
And then I can watch the rabbits grow.
I did see a pretty one. One of the rabbits has a deeper brown coat than the others with a touch more red in it, and just it was really pretty if I weren't so upset with it, grumpy at it. Silly
That
little
just means
rabbit.
you have to plant more next time.
Well, actually, that's what we're discussing because we might as well just plant some of the leftover seed from last year and let the rabbits have it because we're not going to get much from it.
Yeah,
this
just plant
year.
like 10 times as much. To where, you know,
See, that's
they
what
can eat as much as they want and they still won't affect your crop.
That's what I thought I was doing with my sugar snap peas because I planted all the excess seed that I've been saving for a while, and I thought, oh, this is a good opportunity. I'll plant lots of it, and then I'll have some and some to share. And
I don't know if sugar snap peas, because it's a legume, it fixes nitrogen in the soil, and you can't have too many peas because I mean it's gonna, you know, once it gets hot, it's not gonna do well anyway, and then it's time for something else.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
I
So
do.
you can almost use it like a cover crop and just cover the whole ground with sugar snap peas. I did that one year. It was fantastic.
yeah.
Maybe
but
that's why I got bunnies. I don't know.
because of
They heard
the sugar
word
snap
got
peas.
out. The word got out that I had good sugar snap peas. Now I would plant. I would motivate me to plant food just for the rabbits. So what do they like? They like what, balm and sugar snap peas?
Bee balm.
Bee balm.
is what they ate.
So it's not called rabbit balm. It's called bee balm.
It's bee balm, yeah. Okay, now this is kind of a cool, I'm not sure it's cool. It's something I don't like, but I thought I'd show it to you. Okay, that's just a hair. That's not what I'm trying to show off. This spot here, the way I felted it and the way the fibers went into the fabric, it's created a harsh line. My eye is drawn to that little bit there. So the first thing I'm going to do is try and just lift it off, which it came up. So I'm going to feather out the edges and just try and smooth them over so that they felt differently, so it's not in a harsh line. That worked pretty well. The other thing to do in a situation like that, if you can't get it to smooth out like this one did, is to make what I call a Band-Aid. You take a little bit of fiber and you put it on top to sort of cover it and make like a gauzy hiding bit. So there we go. I'll stick that in here, just right by the edge. So there you go. That's the start of the body. I think I'll do the wings, and once the wings are done, then we'll come in and put speckles on the body and call it an outfit. We're working on finishing this really cool owl. It's a barn owl by Danny Ives with Felted Sky, and we are so close. So I'm going to open my box. I've been working in my box. We're going to look at a couple of things like finishing touches and things I discovered when I opened the box today and how much wool I've got left. So ready? 1, 2, 3. Here we go. Dun da da da. There she is. She's looking good. I've got little tiny bits of wool ready to felt. So I made these little fluff balls. I took some of the wool I needed, and we're talking tiny bits. I tore them off and I roll them between my finger to make a little ball, and that's what I'm felting down for stars. I start by felting in the middle, and then I shift to felting the outside. I can felt them all the way through to the back if I'm not careful. So I felt these down, and because I already did a lot of them and just sort of threw them out there, I'm just felting them down. Once all these stars are done, I'll have to trim my fabric and glue it into the frame. But one of the interesting things, I opened it up. I don't usually work from the side on this project. I've been sitting straight on, and going from the side, I can see fabric, base fabric right here. And then here under the eye, I can see fabric as well. So I'm gonna come through and do some little patches before I forget. Again, I'm gonna roll it between my fingers to sort of pre-felt it. And then I'm just gonna come in here and cover that fabric because I don't want that fabric to show because, you know, somebody's going to see and then they'll notice. And we're out here at our embroidery table today, and so there are customers walking by and they can be part of the video too. You never know who's going to join us. There we go, a little bit more there. And then right under this eye. I had a friend who recommended turning projects upside down when she was painting because it helped her see things differently. And sitting at the side and looking at your project from a different angle is a good thing too. There we go. Good. Okay. Now back to stars. If you want to have a sparkle star, sort of a cross, you can do that too. I decided I just wanted stars in the background. This one I mostly felted down into the back, so looks like it's far away. There's this. I think we're gonna finish this up, and then once it's all glued and in the frame, we'll show you and we'll hang it up so you can see it. But I hope you've had as much fun as I have. It's been really amazing. I tell you, I look at shaded things differently. I've got some tile in my bathroom that has shades on it. I'm like, ooh, look at that gradation from one color into the next. And there's all sorts of cool things that I've learned just working on this project. So, all right, folks, we did it. Our barn owl's up on the wall. It's been lovely. It's been real fun. I feel like I've learned a lot. I hope you have too. Thanks for felting with us. Enjoy the process.